Emerson, you're the first person that I saw your project on LinkedIn. I know it's gone viral across many platforms, including Reddit as well.
Nice.
But you're the first one I saw it on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, this looks awesome. And of course, has received a lot of community engagement. So if you don't mind, really quick, like introducing yourself for people who don't know who you are and what you do.
Yeah, hi, I'm Emerson. I'm what we call a technical designer. So that means I do programming and design, and I combine those two fields together. I like making really cool video games that push the boundary of gaming technology. I've been making games for the last 8 years, and in that time, we've worked in everything from doing console stuff to VR specifically. We're doing VR for the last 6 years. And in that space, we actually made some world-first technology in what we call the co-location space. So essentially, multiple people in the same area at the same time. That's what co-location is, and we created some world-first technology in that space, in the XR space. That was really cool. And now we're doing FPS stuff. We're doing Project Shadowpoint, which is essentially a mix between Titanfall's movement and mech combat, as well as the finals destruction. You combine those two together and you get something really slick. If I don't say so myself, I might be a bit biased there, but yeah.
No, it looks really cool, and we're obviously going to be showing more of that stuff, but I missed the project name. What's the official name of the project right now?
Project Shadowpoint. Again, it's the working title. We're going to have to figure it out soon what the official title is, but Project Shadowpoint is the name of the project right now.
I love having these early on projects where like a name matters, but it doesn't matter as much as further down the line where you probably got to reassess what fits the game better, what sounds a bit cooler, but Project Shadowpoint it is for now.
Yeah, for now. Again, huge asterisks on that. Once we get our Steam page up, that's when it'll be confirmed, to say the least. Yeah.
So far, this development process from start to now, how long has that been?
So in my initial LinkedIn post that you might have seen, we essentially, what we did was the goal of this right now is to prove this concept could even work. So we really went to the Unreal Asset Store. We've got a FPS template. We ripped it apart, added all the niceties of that networking, for example, and all that movement stuff in there. And that whole process of making the initial concept you saw on LinkedIn, that was like 10 days, right? And from that point now, it's been about 2 months, and now we've gotten, I don't know if you've seen, but we've got mechs in now. Like, you actually deploy a mech. You can call it down, and it'll come down and destroy buildings and stuff. Let me get this to you right now. This is actually this is fresh off the press. Let me get the exact video for you. 1 second.
We can also do it after too. Really up to you.
Yeah, for sure. I'll send you just the footage just to make sure we're on the same page here, because it is. Here we go.
I hadn't seen the freaking mechs.
All right. No, this is fresh. This is brand new. We're going to redo this trailer for public. This is only a publisher trailer right now.
Okay, is this in Discord or where is it?
I just sent you on Discord, in the Discord, on your DMs. Oh yeah, so we have a Discord community where I really engage with the fans, and when I pinged everyone saying, hey, we've got mechs in, can you give them a go? They're like, you got what in? What's that? What do you mean mechs? And again, integrating that with the destruction, so you see how the mechs actually, you can call them on buildings, they will go through the building and destroy it. So you've got some gameplay usage there as well. Obviously the issue is, if you call it in the middle of a building, you're slightly stuck. You have to blow yourself up. Blow your way out of the building, I should really say. But it's still a gameplay decision. If someone's camping up in a building, you can just call a mech on them, and that will destroy all their cover. which is, again, really, really fun gameplay.
So obviously
opportunity.
it's a shooter of some sort, and you've already likened this to other games that I've really enjoyed. Titanfall, I actually don't have much experience with, but the finals and its destructibility. So there's going to be a shooter with movement and gunplay likened to Titanfall, but also destructibility like Battlefield and the finals. So how would you describe this game to a casual who hasn't come across a playtest yet or any of the trailers? Like, how would you describe this game?
That's a great question. Oh, you really make me think today. Look, I think the best way to describe it is you've got really fluid parkour systems, you've got absolutely massive mechs, and you have the ability to blow up everything you see. Combine those three together, and you've got a action game, a shooter game, which essentially allows you to. It's a fully dynamic environment. It's a fully dynamic gameplay system. If someone's up in a building and they're camping, you can just blow up that building. And you can just blow that up, get towards them, and now you've got a new sightline. That's probably the best way to describe it. The core stuff of the trailer I said has 4 things, which is the parkour movement, the fluid parkour movement. It's got overpowered weaponry. I love using overpowered weaponry. If everything's overpowered, then nothing is. Great design philosophy. You've got these massive battle mechs that you can call down at any time, and you've got fully destructible environments. You put that all together in one neat package. That's what this project is. And I think the combination, I think the finals is a really good example. The finals has been a very, people who have commented on this say, oh my gosh, you're combining my 2 favorite games together. You've got, you've got Titanfall and you've got the finals. That's really awesome. There's a lot of overlap between those 2 markets. So it's really interesting to see how passionate people are. I'll talk about passion in a second, but I'll wrap up this question first. It's really interesting to see how many people are just intrigued by this concept alone of the finals, or Apex Legends these days. Apex Legends is played far more than Titanfall is, but you got Apex Legends style movement, like Pathfinder's grapple and sliding systems and all those movement tech. And you've also got the destruction of the finals in Battlefield, where you can destroy entire buildings, where you can literally level the playing field to get an advantage on your enemy.
So what's the end goal here? Is it to be a competitor of a certain shooter out there? Is it to enter a specific shooting genre? I know you guys are such early days, and you might not know specifically what the end goal wants to be, but what do you guys want to try and expand into? What do you want this end product to maybe look like?
It's a good question. Look, the way I've always marketed it so far towards people is this is the movement shooter you deserve. You guys have been neglected for such a long period of time. This is the game where we're trying to make sure that we fix everything you don't like and add everything you do like in to make it the most accessible, but also most deep movement shooter we can possibly make it, right? And obviously not a copy of Titanfall. We're right now working on specific movement tech from Titanfall, things like tap strafing, lurching, air acceleration, all that source movement stuff that is used in the Apex a lot. It's used in Apex Legends a lot. We're making sure that that's in and that's one-to-one. And one of the bits of feedback we've gotten so far is actually, if you're a Titanfall player, you can come to this game and within about a minute, you'll be good to go. You know exactly how the system works. It feels like you're just at home. There's no need to relearn anything, if that makes sense. So our end goal with this, to directly answer your question, I do yap a lot. I've got to answer your questions directly. Our end goal with this is to essentially deliver the movement shooter that people deserve and give an accessible movement shooter experience to all sorts of players, right? One of the things that we've really noticed during development so far is that a large portion of this player base aren't that into movement shooters, but they are also that good at movement, right? Or they aren't that good at right? It's a very tricky thing, right? There's a lot of people here, for example, who will just I'll give you a specific example. We were testing a split screen. By the way, we've got split screen as well. It's 4-player split screen, just like Halo. That's calling back to that Halo profile picture. That's literally why, I love Halo split screen. I thought this game works really well on split screen. But anyway, it does have a similar party shooter aesthetic. Again, side note here, it does have a similar party shooter vibe that Halo does. So Halo's the type of game where you just give your friend the controller, and within a minute, they're good to go. They know how to play the game. They know to get in the vehicles. That's essentially the same type of gameplay structure that we've got in Project Shadowpoint right now. It's a game where, as long as you understand basic FPS mechanics, you can jump in and you can have a really good time. And a specific example of that is I remember we were playtesting, we were demoing split screen for the first time at some local game developer meetup. And this one person was watching the screen for like 30 minutes, right? He was just sitting there watching. He was a bit like, hesitant to play. After a while, he convinced himself to grab a controller, and it was free. And this kid didn't even use the looking stick. He just used movement. He didn't even know how to look right on the controller. And he spent 30 minutes just running around the map. He didn't do any shooting. He did not get a single kill, but he spent 30 minutes just running around the map using the parkour systems. And I think that says a lot about, look, the hardcore audience that we have, the movement tech people, the people who are really, really, good at movement and good at that type of technical stuff. Obviously, the game is going to work for them. But there was a large portion of that audience, the intermediate and the casual players, who just want to have a fun game where they can shoot their friends and run around their map. And that we really want to deliver on that. And we found out quite a large portion, even of the pre-alpha users, where the only way you find out about this game is through the Titanfall subreddit or through LinkedIn. Quite a few people are beginners. Like, quite a few people are actually. There's actually, again, to quantify that, there's a survey that we put in when you respawn. And it asks you, hey, what are those 3 games have you played the most? The Finals, Apex Legends, or Titanfall? Right? Out of those 3 games, which one have you played the most? And 20 to 25% of people say none. They say they haven't played any of those games. And if you're playing this open pre-alpha right now, and you haven't played those games, then how'd you find out about this open pre-alpha? How'd you find out about this game, right? And I think that's one of the really interesting things, is that we want to kind of recapture that party shooter experience. It's been kind of lost these days. I think gaming's moved a lot towards this hyper competitive state, this hyper, over the top, everything's got to be competitive. You've got to play for the win every single time. And what we've realized with this game is that the movement system allows players of all sorts of skill levels to just enjoy playing the game, even if they're not getting kills. I think that's a really good definition of, isn't a shooter game fun if you're not winning? If you're getting smashed, you're getting curb stomped, and you're still having fun, then I've done a good job, right? We've done a good job as developers. And that's our end goal, though, is to make sure we deliver that movement shooter experience people want, but we also make sure it's accessible enough and it's got that party shooter vibe that people who aren't the best at movement or shooting can still have a lot of fun, still, just as much fun as people who have spent thousands of hours playing those types of games.
So the movement shooter they deserve. That's a strong headline you just gave. That's a pretty good one right there. High expectations.
Yeah, thank you. Right?
That's a good way to. I like hearing one-liners like that, though. That's what it takes nowadays to kind of penetrate the market of, like, get some eyes. You gotta be dressed and have high expectations for yourself and your product. And it's nice to hear you talk a long time. You say you're yapping, but I enjoy the yap, because then I have to focus, and I'm like, okay, he said the movement shooter you deserve, right? That's the line.
Yeah.
But how do people? You've mentioned playtest several times. How do people know how to join up? You guys seem like you're doing a very transparent approach of, like, hey, come on in, early community members, playtest the game,
Absolutely.
Give us your feedback. So how can people find you guys and partake in that?
Yeah, so right now we've got I'll give you a link to it, but right now we've got a open pre-alpha on itch.io. So anyone can download the game, get straight into it, and start giving feedback. There's online multiplayer enabled from the start, so you can just grab your friends, jump in like right now for free, and mess around with it. There's also a Discord server we have that lets you access early builds and lets you talk to me directly about what changes and what things you want to see. And we've got so much good feedback so far. We've really, again, I can speak out the passion part now. We have people in there who've got, like, I think one guy has, 8,000 hours of Apex Legends gameplay, right? And this guy's...
I thought you were going to say your game. I'm like, it's been 2 months. Is that even possible?
No, I play my game quite a lot, though. I've played it for, like, maybe 30, 40 hours, just playing the game, not even making, it's just like playing with other people, right? And it's a lot. Again, for me, that's a lot,
AK in any game.
Yes, 8,000, but AK in Apex. And this guy is actually super helpful with the movement tech, because he's explaining, all right, this is what, for example, let's say the slingshot grapple mechanics. So how the grappling actually works in Apex, with Pathfinder specifically, about how that math works and how it gives you a boost when you finish the grapple and all that stuff. And all the math behind it is really useful, because for me, I like to think I'm pretty good at those, Apex and Titanfall, but I'm not that level, right? I am nowhere near the level of using movement tech. And so I need people like that to help me fill those gaps. Right? I don't know everything, right? And it'd be a fool's errand to say I do know everything and to pretend I know everything about game development. And so getting people on board like that who do have the experience and do have the knowledge that I don't have, that helps me a lot because now I can make the game that satisfies that market and satisfies those players. And again, a specific example on this. So I remember the first time we did our public playtesting in like just a local. Again, we do a lot of local development playtests to get like on the ground user feedback, because online feedback, right, really good, but that might be the more hardcore audience. You want to see what the casual and the non-gamers and the non-FPS players, how do they react to the game. And there was this one guy, right, we just got the game set up, and we just got the game set up. Again, this is the first time we showed it publicly in this type of event, and got the game set up, and we've just started our first sessions. And this guy comes up to me, and he's like, "Do you have Titans in the game?" Right? It says Titanfall, like, this game's like, inspired by Titanfall. Where are the Titans? And I'm like, well, we're thinking about that right now. We're still a bit hesitant about how we should implement that. And I'm not even kidding. This guy's like 30, or maybe 3 feet away from me, like 2 feet away from me. He is yelling in my face for 10 minutes straight about how important Titans are and how we need to have them in and how no other game's doing Titan combat right now and super duper important. And what that really taught me was like this player base is super passionate, right? We have some of the most passionate members of the movement shooter community in the server, and we come across very passionate people who want to see something like this. There's just so much raw passion. Again, this guy, the game was like up for maybe 3 minutes at this point, right? The game was like, you could maybe get 2 or 3 kills in at this point before he came over, and he just started just yelling about how important it was and how absolutely critical it was to get Titans in, because he hasn't played any good games since Titanfall that have had proper mech combat. And so that's, again, it's just the raw passion of people in this community to see something like this, see something that, a game that they deserve. People are really clamoring for that, and it's been such a surreal experience to have that. I've been developing games for 8 years at this point, so I've done a lot of events. And what typically happens in those events from a developer's perspective, like things like and all that stuff, what happens from a developer? What we see is that players will come up to the booth, they will be like, "Oh, what's this?" I'll be a little bit intrigued. They'll play the game for a few minutes. They'll be like, "Oh yeah, it was fine," and they'll put the controller down and leave and never come back. Right? They're just pretending to be nice. And the first time we playtested this game, people played for like 30 minutes. I'm like, that doesn't usually happen. They play for like 5 minutes. What's happening? Something's wrong. And we actually had to rip people off the computers. Like, no, other people need to have a turn. Like, we need to cycle through players, right? And that was the moment. I'm like, all right. That's when people are really like that. We've got something here, because people are so hooked on this that even with literally the average play time right now is around 37 minutes per user, and each user spends about 15 minutes per session. So they have 15-minute sessions totaling for 37 minutes. That's like 2.5 times they come back, which means they come back for more. And given right now, the only content we have in the game is like 1 map, 1 mode, which is free for all, and 10 weapons. There's no unlocks, there's no progression. There's like 1 map and 1 mode. And yet people are playing that for 30, 40 minutes straight. That says a lot about how engaged people are with just this core stuff, with just the bare minimum, right? And as a developer, if you can make people happy with the bare minimum, then you got something excellent. Examples like Mario 64, when Nintendo was making Mario 64, they would put Mario in an empty room and make sure that the movement was fun in that empty room, right? Because the game wasn't made yet, and they wanted to make sure that Mario's movement was absolutely perfect before they made the rest of the game. And likewise, this is the bare minimum of the game, right? There's like 1 map. It's like 1 map, that's it, right? And the fact that people are so hooked on the gameplay just from this 1 map says a lot to me. And I know I've completely derailed off the question, but I think it's really interesting and important to point out how good it is to see how much passion people have for this game and how they want us to help see it succeed, and how we're trying to enable it. We're listening to feedback as much as we can. We're making sure we make the changes people are requesting, because you guys know stuff that I don't, and I want to make sure that as a developer, I'm in service of my players, right? I'm in service of the people who play this game. So I want to make sure that we are servicing them as best as possible, and we are giving them the experience they deserve. Again, this is the movement shooter that everyone's been waiting for. This is the movement shooter everyone deserves after such a long time of not getting anything close to it. Again, those games that have that sort of Titanfall vibe, but nothing that actually comes close to delivering a true experience, right? And that's what we're trying to. It's an ambitious task. It's a really ambitious task, but I feel like given our knowledge that we've obtained over making games quickly and making games with new technology in them from the last 8 years of development, as well as the advantage we have of having this community that can give us that information that we need, we're really making leaps. I mean, in 2 months, you can see what the game looks like in 2 months already, right? It's 2 months. What's it going to look like in 4 months or 6 months or 8 months or a year or whatever? So exactly, that's the question.
That's actually my last question for you too. It's only 2 months in. So what is next for you guys in the near future? What are you trying to attain?
It's a great question. Steam page is our number one thing. The store page on Steam is a huge priority for us because it makes us. It takes it from hey, this is just a prototype to this is a product that's going to come out, right? That's super duper important for us to have that Steam page there. We're working to get that right now, and obviously there's, there are minimum requirements for a Steam page, but there's also minimum user requirements for a Steam page. Yeah, so there's like regular requirements for a Steam page. You gotta have 3 images or whatever it is, and then user requirements, like for example, you gotta have quite a few environments, and you gotta have trailers, and you gotta have promotional material. Because if you don't have that, your first impression is, oh, this game's a scam. This game's like an asset flip. I'm out of here, right? And so we want to make sure that first impression is rock solid, and we want to make sure that we've got enough core gameplay in there and enough core stuff in there that's going to make sure that to let people know, hey, this isn't, we made a prototype, we had fun, but that's it. No, this is a true experience that we're trying to deliver on, and this is proof of that, right? And that trailer I sent you, we're going to be publishing out in a few days' time, but that's like an example right now of the pre-alpha state. Hey, this is what the gameplay looks like right now. We're going to add in some extra stuff in before we go to a Steam page, before we start getting feedback on Steam. Again, the bar on Steam is way higher than it is on itch.io. So we're lucky we've got quite forgiving users right now, but on Steam that isn't the case, and we want to make sure that we satisfy all our players on itch.io before we move Steam, before we start getting feedback. We're doing this transparent, open pre-alpha stuff. We're going to try to keep that up for as long as possible because we really do believe that is the biggest strength of this project right now, is the fact that you can help change it. You can help give feedback. And every 2 weeks, you run major playtests. So, every 2 weeks, you've got some massive new feature, whether it's like new destruction systems, some movement rework, mechs, right? And that also gives us feedback for me. It's good for me because I am able to see, okay, like for example, we did a destruction rework using the chaos destruction system inbuilt to Unreal. You might have seen it before. It's basically like, you've ever seen those videos of Unreal Engine where there's buildings exploding and there's all this debris. There was that Matrix demo a few years ago. That's the chaos destruction system. We tested it in gameplay, and while it did look really good, it didn't work gameplay-wise. The performance cost was too high, and there was some bugs, really glaring bugs. I think one streamer actually played the game, and he encountered a bug where you can make buildings fly. Like, you can just make them explode and make them fly off the map. And so obviously that's like, all right, it's good feedback for us because we know this is not going to work anymore. Like, if we spent 2 months on that, and we spent 2 months making that system work, and then we gave it to players and it had those issues, that's 2 months wasted, right? Instead, we spend only a couple of days or a couple of weeks, get it to the minimum state we can, make sure it works, and then we go back and do it properly. And then that way we ensure that all the work we're doing, there's no wasted work. All the work we're doing is as true to the values and true to the core of what players want.